welcome to another virtual crafting class presented by the Livingston Parish Library. My name is Miss Amanda, and today I'll be teaching you how to make a felt woodland fox keychain. And also, I'll be giving you a brief overview of some of the mythology of the fox worldwide. For this craft, you'll need orange, brown, and white felt, some needle and thread, your fox template, scissors, a Sharpie pen, some glue, pillow stuffing, ribbon, and 2 flat back beads. If you haven't already, stop by your local branch to pick up your pre-made craft kit, but please be aware that supplies are limited. Many animals have been celebrated or idolized by cultures throughout the world across history, but none perhaps as much as the noble fox. Oftentimes symbolized in mythology and folklore as an animal representing cunning, trickery, or agility, it is hard to argue with this characterization based on the personalities of fox kind. Stories about foxes can be found everywhere on the globe, but starting in Europe, we can find evidence in Finnish mythology of the fox depicted as a cunning trickster, but seldom evil or belligerent. In folk tales handed down through the Finns, the fox is often described as the counterpoint to the bear or the wolf. Whereas the bear is strong and the wolf voracious, the fox is nimble and cunning enough to outsmart both of them, symbolizing the ultimate victory of intelligence and cunning over malevolence and brute strength. The stories about foxes go back even further than that. In early Mesopotamian mythology, the fox is considered the messenger of the gods. In addition, the West African Dogon people mythologicalized the fox as either a trickster god of the desert embodying the elements of chaos, or as a messenger for other gods. Stories of mythological foxes are found throughout East Asia as well. Fox spirits were powerful and known to be highly mischievous and would oftentimes trick people in stories. Alright, so let's get started with making our fox. The first thing you'll need to do is cut out all your pieces from your template, like this. And then you're going to want to take your felt. Okay, let's do that. Alright, so let's get started on making our fox. The first thing that we're going to want to do is to take our outlines and cut out all the pieces. And just so you know, the body and the tail, or you're going to use the orange. You're going to need to cut out 2 pieces for the body, 1 for the tail. And then all the pieces of fluff here, you're going to use the white felt. And for the nose and the eyes, he'll be using the brown. So what I did is I cut these out like so. And you can just take your piece of felt and just dot around the edges kind of lightly, because you don't want it to bleed all the way through, just so that you have you know what to cut out, so you can trace around the edges. So once you have all your pieces traced out, you can start cutting out your felt pieces. And it does work easier if you have fabric scissors, but if not, your regular house scissors should work. Now that we have everything cut out, we're going to sew on the white pieces of fluff onto the orange pieces. So we're going to use that piece as our back piece, so we're just going to use this as our front body piece. So the first thing we're going to sew on is this piece onto the end of the tail. And for this, all we need to do is use a whip stitch.
because we're going to finish off the rest of it, the outside of the body, with the black thread when we do the blanket stitch to seal up all the seams. So just like that, you're just going to do the inside. Do the inside threading. So that piece is going to go like that. This piece will go like this. And the ear tufts right there. So let's get that done next. Alright, so next we are going to sew on the face. Like so. So for this one, we are just going to stitch it here and here with the white thread. Alright, so next we're going to put the little tufts on the ears, like so. This way. Like that. Alright, so now we've got all of the white pieces sewed on. We are going to do the eyes and the nose, and I'm switching over to a darker thread to sew on the eyes and the nose. And again, we're still using our whip stitch. Alright, so now I'm just going to cut off this extra, and now we will do the eyes. So let's see where we want to put them. I think that looks good right there. And again, if you do not want to sew these smaller pieces, you can use Elmer's glue. It might not be that secure for a while, but you could also use some hot glue as well. to start putting our fox together. Oh, actually the first thing that we're going to do, I almost forgot, you got to draw on the mouth, or if you are talented enough, feel free to stitch a mouth. But I am just going to use this permanent marker and draw in a smile. Just like that. Okay. So we're going to take our back piece and we're going to line it up with our front piece. And if you notice that anything needs to get trimmed, you can do that now. Like here, my tail on the bottom is a little bit bigger. But honestly, when we start sewing it together, it was not going to really be that noticeable. But I am just going to trim it up just a little bit. Alright, so let me reload some thread. Alright, so I did forget one thing. Before we stitch our fox together with the back piece and the front piece, we are going to attach the tail to the front piece. Just along this line, and I'm going to switch back to the lighter thread for this piece. And still just using a whip stitch. Alright. So now we're going to switch to a different stitch called a blanket stitch. Actually, the first thing we're going to do is attach our ribbon to our back piece. So we're going to loop it like this. We are going to go through. I'm going to go ahead and knot it. Okay, so now we're going to line up our two body pieces, and we're going to use the black thread, and we're going to start using a blanket stitch. I want to end my stitch here, so this is where I'm going to start, because we're going to fill in this tail piece with a little bit of fluff, and then we're going to fill the body in with some fluff. So I'm going to start here with my stitch. Alright, so now we're going to line up our two pieces, our front and our back. We're going to knot our end of our thread a few times. So our pieces are lined up, and just so you know, we're going to be filling in fluff, a little bit of fluff here between the tail and the front piece, and then we're going to be filling in the whole fox body with some fluff. So what we're going to do is we're going to start our stitch here, and we're going to go all the way around until we get about here, and then we're going to fill in our fluff, and then we're going to seal up the rest of the fox. So for this, we're going to use a blanket stitch. I'm just going to start at the back right here. My pieces are lined up to the way that I want them to be. I'm just going to pull that through. And so for the blanket stitch, it's like the whip stitch, only when we get this loop, we're going to loop our needle through it, and pull, and then once we start going, let's hold this a little bit extra string back. It'll start going. This thread will start going along the inseam, just like that. And that's the blanket stitch. So we're just going to go all the way around, leaving a little bit of space towards the end to fill in our fox with stuffing. And you don't have to use a dark thread for this if you do not want to. This is just a design choice that I made. Alright, we're getting close to stopping to take care of our fluff. I'm just going to do a few more stitches. Place. So now we're going to take our fluff, and I think for this I'm going to go get a pencil, so I'll be right back. Alright, so we're just going to take a little bit at a time, maybe even a little bit less than that. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make some room. We might need our pencil to help it through. Just going to keep adding. Then we're going to take some, we're going to slip it in between the tail piece and the front piece. Maybe even a little bit less than that to get it started. Let's be a little gentle. You don't want to poke through your felt. I think that's about all the felt fluff I want to use. So now I'm just gonna start sealing it up. All right, so we have finished our fox. We knotted it up, and it is complete. I hope you learned something new and enjoyed making these. Remember to get your craft kit from your local branch while supplies last, and share with us your completed felt foxes on our socials. I can't wait to see what you make.